One bite. Just one, thought Adam. He took a quick look again at Eve, who was still chewing on the last bits of the piece of fruit in her mouth. She cocked her head and gave Adam a quizzical look. Adam massaged the fruit in his hand, turning it around, feeling the smooth silkiness of the skin against his palm, applying some pressure now and again, hoping somehow that he could get a nod from the fruit itself. Adam was not so sure. He felt something he had never felt before. An uncomfortable uneasiness was creeping upon him, and the feeling was refusing to go away. The words of the Lord came back to him again, but seemed so far away. They had always obeyed without question, trusting implicitly. But now, here was Eve presenting him with a new equation. She was just standing there, her head tilted again in that charmingly quizzical manner. "Well, come on," she seemed to say. Adam raised the shiny fruit to his mouth. Slowly he sank his teeth into the fruit, his eyes still locked to Eve's, and took one bite. For a few seconds he paused, expecting something, not knowing exactly what. Eve had swallowed everything in her mouth, and she was still standing. Eve, beautiful as ever, her eyes sparkling in anticipation, waiting. Time stood still. Nothing about her seemed to have changed. Adam began to chew as Eve watched, her whole body a study of intensity. The fruit tasted delicious, but so did everything that their Creator had provided in this paradise that was Eden. Adam raised the fruit again to his lips to take a second bite, but his hand froze and his mouth closed. He could not put a finger to it, but he felt a new cautiousness, almost like an invisible hand on his shoulder, gently holding him, pulling him back. The air around them suddenly felt unusually cool. Adam watched Eve's gazelle-shaped eyes narrow slightly. She stopped smiling and fixed a more intense gaze on Adam as he swallowed the piece of fruit in his mouth. For the next few seconds, their eyes remained locked, each one trying to see something in the eyes of the other. For several seconds, nothing happened, but then again, something was happening, something dark and foreboding. Adam could feel a shift deep inside his spirit. Something was definitely wrong, and it felt bad. For the first time, this unwelcome sick feeling started to well up from deep inside his belly. The feeling kept growing, seeming to morph into a more terrible state as it grew into some frightening thing that seemed to have an uncontrollable life of its own. Eve was going through something similar, reacting to an internal contusion that was also rapidly spreading. The usual smile was gone from the face that now appeared drained and gaunt. The lovely eyes, now shadowy slits, filled with some mysteriously dark emotions. The two looked at each other and were drawn into each other's chilly orbs of fear. They felt like they had been thrown off their trajectory and sent spiraling down some deep and murky vortex. Like wounded animals, they crouched, huddled together, hanging onto each other, not needing to say anything as they read the fear, shame, and misery mirrored in each other's eyes. They had no way to describe the confusion that seemed to threaten the very core and essence of their beings, tearing everything inside apart. It was a horrible, horrible feeling. Adam looked at the deep whirlpools of despair in Eve's eyes, now full of tears, something he had never seen before, and felt the sting in his own eyes. They did not need to talk. They both just knew that something of monumental and of earth-shaking proportions had just happened. "Adam," Eve finally whispered, "is this dying?" Adam only wished he could close his eyes and be where he was before Eve turned up with that fruit in her hand. If only he could turn back the clock. He knew better. He had known better. Their bodies were reacting in ways they had never known to the turmoil they were experiencing. Adam could feel unfamiliar wetness in his armpits. The sweat began to slowly dribble down his arms. His palms felt wet and clammy. His breathing became labored, rapid, and intense. All he could hear was the sound of his beating heart getting louder and louder and beginning to hurt. Adam became acutely aware of the smell of fear emanating from his body. It was so palpable. Eve was trembling like a leaf beside him. He watched the sweat form beads on her forehead, saw the creases deepen with each passing moment. He hated what was happening to them. They were losing their bearings, and it was nerve-wracking. Suddenly, they both jumped as they picked up the signal they knew so well. The Lord was coming for their usual evening rendezvous. But that delightful knowing that they had always had, that had always preceded the presence, was marred by a fear they had never known before. Their hearts would leap with joy within them when their Father came to speak with them face to face. Only this time, they did not yearn to see him or want to run out to meet him. The cover of glory over them had gone. Afraid, feeling ashamed and guilty and wanting to hide, they pulled at some big leafy branches in an attempt to make covers from the strips that they hoped beyond hope would somehow cover their deep betrayal. Adam and Eve cringed, not knowing what to expect of the imminent encounter with the one who knows all things. All around and at the same time seeming to resonate from deep within their souls, the unbearable sound and proximity of diabolical triumph sent chills down their spines. They realized now they had walked into a trap. There was no escape that they could see, no stopping this thing they had so foolishly started, no turning the clock back. Adam and Eve began to slowly comprehend that they had fallen into a deep, bottomless pit. Deceived, they had not seen how the bait had been so craftily laid out for them. They had failed their Creator, Father, and friend. They had partaken of a covenant they had been warned would only doom them for destruction. They had lost it all. They had fallen.